Blackboard Jungle is a 1955 movie based in New York City. A middle-aged teacher starts his teaching career off in this urban school and soon realizes that it won't be the easiest job he's ever gotten. From day one, he knew he was dealing with boys who were more interested in their street lives rather than learning the lessons he had set forth. Although Mr. Dadier faced his own personal struggles, the boys themselves faced many of their own. During the 50s, there were many issues facing the United States. The civil rights movement had just begun, and a big draft for soldiers began as well. They saw the war as a way out where they could join the armed forces and make their lives in that way. Over time, Mr. Dadier got a grasp on how to teach them effectively. He had to capture their attention and hold it by talking about issues that they faced and could relate to. The turning point was certainly when he played the movie in the class, and the class erupted in questions and comments. He had finally gotten them to sit through a lesson and enjoy it. Mr. Dadier faced some harassment back home where his wife received letters and phone calls nonstop until he was able to pinpoint who they were coming from and put an end to it. He learned valuable lessons with his first teaching job and was able to get through to the boys despite the issues they were facing outside the classroom. While he knew most of the boys in his class were delinquents who destroyed property, refused to respect authority, and threatened female faculty members with rape, he was still one of the few teachers who proved to the boys he cared. He wanted to teach them and wanted to show them respect and never gave up no matter how much he wanted to and how hard things continued to get. Most of the other teachers had given up, warned him about how hard it would be, yet he continued on and proved to himself he could do it and proved to the students that they were worth the time and effort. Without that, the boys would never have wanted to learn the way they had. Having a teacher show that they care changes a lot of things for the students, and this movie was able to prove that.
To Sir with Love is a 1967 British drama film starring Sidney Poitier. The movie portrays social and racial issues happening in an inner-city school on the east side of London. Sir learns from the other teachers of North Quay Secondary School that most of the students have been rejected from other schools and their antics have driven their last teachers to resign. The students live up to their reputation from disruptive behavior to distasteful pranks. Yet Sir retains his calm manner, but a turning point comes one morning when he loses his temper and then informs that from now on they will be treated as adults and only allowed to discuss issues from their own choosing for the remainder of term. Sir was not going to let the students walk over him, so he took a different approach. Instead of being mean and stern, he controlled his temper and told the students that this is the way the classroom was going to operate and he would not tolerate anything less. Although his teaching style was unorthodox, Sir was able to reach the students by effectively engaging them in conversations that they wanted to take part in. Sir models respect for the others and for himself, and consciously the kids gradually come around. There are hiccups in the process, however, with a couple major confrontations like the boxing match in the gym. However, in the end, the students come full circle, respecting their classroom, their peers, Sir, but most importantly, they respected themselves.
Stand and Deliver is a very interesting movie based on a Los Angeles mathematics professor named Jamie Escalante. The movie focuses on a growing attachment, trust, and experience between the professor and his high school classroom. The movie shows the full description and dedication that the professor gives toward educating anyone and everyone that looks forward to receiving an education. Stand and Deliver took place in 1988 and was based within a predominantly Hispanic area of East Los Angeles. The high school is in stake of possibly losing accreditation due to the failing grades that the students receive within the school. The students of the high school began struggling with simple mathematics such as solving simple fractions until Professor Escalante decided to make a change within his classroom academic achievements. The movie is only based within a year span of time in which he decided to challenge the students' ability to prove everyone that the students were capable to pulling through their academics and pulling up their grades by the end of the year. During a board meeting, he announced that he would not only make sure that the students succeeded within the class, but they will also succeed in calculus. The teachers that were in the class meeting doubted his notions, but he made sure he did not fail his class. Professor Escalante spent endless days and nights preparing his students for the advanced placement test. And in the process of preparing his students for the test, he spent some nights instructing English learning classes for Hispanic adults within his community. Although he was passionate about educating and helping, it ultimately started to take a toll on his health. Just weeks before the test, Professor Escalante had a heart attack, but that did not stop him from getting back to his class and helping his students excel. The students did hit a drastic turn for the bad after finding out they passed the advanced placement testing for the calculus level. Sometime shortly after receiving the first set of test results, there were allegations that the students of the classroom may have all cheated off of one another due to similarities in certain answers. Professor Escalante had faith that his students would not cheat and they had all proper knowledge of passing once again. To reassure the students and show his students he cared, he made sure that their study sessions were long and strict. He made sure that they did not leave any questions unanswered. At the end of his and his students' hard work, it paid off in many ways. Some ways there were many changes from the beginning of the year compared to the end of the school year. Not only did the demeanor of the students change, but also the atmosphere within the classroom changed. He created a strong bond within the students. The students created a strong bond with one another, and they all gained a sense of belief within themselves and everyone else.
The movie Lean on Me was introduced in 1989. There were a few main points that were retrieved from the movie. They are student behavior, adaptiveness of students and teachers, time-lapse in environment, and ethnic diversity. Student behavior was a key problem in the beginning of the movie. The movie takes place in Paterson, New Jersey, a notoriously rough town. The movie opens with Morgan Freeman portraying a teacher, Joe Clark. The students were very proper and well-dressed and also well-behaved at the time. However, the dynamic completely changed. Joe was offered a position as an elementary school principal, to then being personally asked by the superintendent to come to Eastside High School and be the principal because the school was facing state takeover if they did not improve their standardized test scores. After accepting the position, we see how bad it really was. Students were smoking, cursing, fighting, yelling, screaming, and just being completely out of control and downright crazy. It was amazing to me to see how Paterson went from a nice town to a hard place so quickly. There were gang-related fights in school, drugs being sold, people were out of control, and the teachers couldn't control them whatsoever. Mr. Clark starts his first day by expelling about 300 or so students who are known as the bad kids of the school. The students had no respect for the rules or for the faculty or for the school itself, so Clark thought it was best to get rid of the root of the problem. Shortly after that, we saw student behavior start to slowly improve, and Mr. Clark kept them in line because he did not tolerate one single ounce of defiance. Many of the teachers and students were very resilient to adapting to Mr. Clark's new rules. One in particular was Vice Principal Mrs. Levias. She felt that Mr. Clark was being too hard on the teachers because of his very strict new approach. The teachers felt threatened because Mr. Clark told them that they were failing at their jobs because of the poor test scores. Many teachers got angry by this and resisted the changes implemented by Mr. Clark. Mrs. Elliott was one teacher in particular who resisted Mr. Clark's changes, and then he canceled her chorus trip to New York City and even fired her right in front of her class. The students responded better to the new policies faster than the teachers did because at one point they realized the stakes that they faced if they didn't listen to Mr. Clark. Towards the end of the movie, when the test got closer, both students and teachers worked together to produce the results needed to avoid state takeover, which they successfully did. The movie did show a little bit of ethnic diversity. About 90% of the students at Eastside High were either black or Hispanic, and the other 10% or so were white. So the ethnic diversity wasn't really all that diverse. It was a predominantly black and Hispanic mix of students. Lean on Me was one of the most influential movies that I have ever seen in my short 19 years of life. It produced such an important and crucial message that it was absolutely unbelievable the long-term impact that I know it will have on me.
Although these movies portray different time periods, we still face these same problems in schools today, including violence, drugs, and gangs. Freedom Writers is a film that was released in 2007 that takes a look at an urban classroom filled with students who do not get along and fight for their lives every day.